is recorded live with the men and women of law enforcement. All suspects are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Now, here's your host, Iredell County Sheriff Darren Campbell.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so very much for tuning in to The Good, the Bad, and the Guilty today. I feel like I've been gone a long time. My name is Bill Hamby. I have the pleasure of being Chief Deputy with the Iredell County Sheriff's Office. Today I have Captain Randy Horton and Detective Elliot Lane with us. And, you hear about CSI New Orleans. Of course, they've got snow. So you got CSI Miami. You got CSI everywhere. Well, today I have CSI Iredell County, and we're very happy to have these gentlemen with us today. So if you are interested in law enforcement, if you're interested in cyber crimes, cybersecurity, cyber evidence, and hopefully, Mr. Elliot, we'll get into working crimes against children type cases, because you'd get to do some really unique stuff with the sheriff's office. So we'll definitely make sure that we get into that today. But before we get started, just want to say that you can listen to us. You can send us in things on Facebook, WSIC News, on X, on YouTube, on the app, and the website is WSICnews.com. And this is really one of those shows where if you have questions, please try to reach one of these platforms and let us have the information so that we can hopefully answer your question. And also, something that Sheriff Campbell and I have been talking about in the last couple weeks is if you would like to have a topic that is of interest to you or a group of you that are interested in a law enforcement related topic, please reach out to WSIC, reach out to the Sheriff's Office at 704-878-3180, or you can reach us through our Facebook page or our app. And we'd love to hear what you guys want to hear about so that we can get the content that you good listeners are interested in. Speaking about cyber stuff and electronic stuff, we do have a mobile app at the Sheriff's Office. If you haven't downloaded that already, please do so. We push out quite a good bit of content. We'd love to have you on there. And just some stats on our app. Since July of last year, we've had 30,546 downloads of our app. So we have a lot of folks of you that have our app out there. And some of the things that people are interested in, amazingly enough, on the app, the number one search was our in custody. So if you have a person you're looking for, a loved one, if you're a probation officer or a defense attorney or a prosecutor for that matter, and you're looking to see if someone is locked up, we've had over 1,018,785 searches on our app since August of 2024 for that. Our second most used section of our app is the in custody search. So they're checking to see if you're in custody or how long you've been in jail, things of that nature. Then the most wanted comes in third. But some of the features that when Sheriff Campbell was designing our app and working with the company that we work with, we wanted to make sure that we were able to put content out to the community, things in your hand that give you instant access to information that you're interested in. So one of the things that we also want you to know is if you do download our app, it's in the App Store, Google Store, or the Android Store. We do not sell your information. None of that goes out to any third-party vendors. We will not spam you. And if you do receive a push notification, or as we lovingly refer to it as the ding, know that information is vital. Sheriff Campbell has said that we would never push anything out unless it's vital to the community. And for the most part, we put that out for missing persons. We've had several of those recently where we've had elderly folks. We've asked the community to help us find if anything, God forbid, would ever go on at a school, a church, or a business, such as an active shooter or an incident of that nature. We would put that information out live so that you get trusted, verified information from us on the situation at hand if we're sending you out information. So please consider doing that. We'd love to have you follow us on our app. Also, when speaking with Sheriff Campbell pre-show, he asked that I please ask everyone to remember the Raleigh Police Department in your thoughts and prayers, if you will, please. There was a Raleigh police officer shot yesterday in what's probably going to be a domestic situation. Apparently, a young lady called in about someone breaking into her home that she was familiar with from a past relationship. They haven't let out a whole lot of details yet as to what has happened. I believe the SBI, State Bureau of Investigation, is involved in helping conduct that investigation for transparency's sake. But please remember the Raleigh Police Department, if you will, in your thoughts and prayers. So thank you for that. So, Randy, I know we got about 2 minutes left, so I don't want to get too far into the weeds. And Elliot, thank y'all for being here. I know you gentlemen are very, very busy today, but we felt like this was a good time to talk about such things. And Randy, I've known you I was thinking last night, I've known you literally for 20 years or more.
Over 20. Yeah.
Over 20. Randy and I were both members in the North Carolina Homicide Investigators Association, and you were working for
Forsyth County Sheriff's Office back then.
Forsyth County, you were in charge of their crime lab and crime scene unit. And I said, "Hey, Randy, why don't you come work for us?" So I twisted your arm long enough, and you finally said,
"Yeah, what the heck?
What the heck? Come on." So we've been here a while, and pleasure to have you. And Mr. Elliot, you've got some law enforcement experience. You worked for prior to coming here.
Yes, Statesville Police Department.
So you were with Statesville PD prior to coming here. So when we get back here in just about a minute, we'll delve in more to your background because I think folks are going to be very interested in not only the capabilities that we have at the sheriff's office here, but some of the stuff that you get to do with some of the task force things that you're part of. So if you're interested, again, folks, in cybersecurity, electronic crime investigations, things of that nature, and then we'll get into the world of unfortunately, we have to talk about it. So I guess we could say child pornography, online sex predators, trafficking, things of that nature. So we'll talk about the proactive efforts that we're taking here at the sheriff's office for that. So, Randy, have they been keeping you busy?
Always.
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 So I do want to, again, folks, just want to talk about some of the capabilities that we have at our crime lab. And when we come back from our break here in just a minute, we'll let Randy talk about some of the neat things that we do there as far as cameras, phones, computers,
All
video, ring cameras, all that good stuff.
Evidence storage,
evidence
bags,
storage. Oh, see,
black
you're going to get
boxes.
into weeds with it. Don't say black boxes. You'll have John Galena down here.
Well, not that one.
You know, you'll have. But thank you so very much, and we'll be back in about 2 minutes, Joe. Looks like, and we'll get into our topic at hand. So again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in today, rather, to the good, the bad, and the guilty. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much again for tuning back in to us today at the Good, the Bad, the Guilty here at WSIC. For those of you that might have turned in during the break, my name is Bill Hamby. I have the pleasure of being Chief Deputy with the Iredell County Sheriff's Office. Have Captain Randy Horton, who is in charge of our crime scene investigation unit, lab, evidence, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We'll get into that in just a minute. And then Detective Elliot Lane, who works in our special victims unit, who gets to do some really neat things. So, gentlemen, again, thank you so much for taking your time to be with us today. Sheriff Campbell's not with us today. He had some unexpected dentistry things that popped up. So he said, please go cover it. So, Sheriff, we are missing you. Hope you get feeling better. But we'll take care of it today. So, Randy, as we told our listeners before we went to break, I know, Randy, Bill, Randy, we've known each other quite a while.
Yes.
And all the years that I have known you, even before you came to work at the sheriff's office, you were in evidence and crime scene.
Correct.
And I don't want to sway your head too much because we have this conversation before.
Yeah.
But tell our listeners, you are kind of a unique character in North Carolina as far as certifications and things that you are able to do. And I know that you are, correct me if I'm wrong, a witness, expert witness
Yes.
in state and federal court.
Yes. In a few different disciplines.
So tell the folks a little bit about you, and then we'll let Elliot brag on himself.
Okay. Well, prior to coming here, I did almost 20 years with the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office. Been here almost 11 now. Actually, over 11 now. I forgot. I am a senior crime scene analyst and certified senior crime scene analyst, and I'm also a certified latent print examiner.
That means you get the varsity sweater with the letter on it.
Yeah,
Okay.
even with the little pen with the
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
with the little pen. Most large agencies around, your Charlottes, Raleighs, that type thing, they will have numerous crime scene investigators, some of which are certified at various levels. I'm at the top level for crime scene certification. And then most other agencies will have separate and apart a section that works with fingerprints, footwear, tire tracks, that type thing. I am certified as a latent print examiner. So essentially, I do the job of both of those in one. And in the state of North Carolina, there are a grand total of 4 of us that hold both of those simultaneously. And of course, this number changes worldwide. Less than 100, roughly 90-ish worldwide.
So when we jokingly refer to Sheriff Campbell saying when prime ribs on sale, you got to buy it.
Yeah,
we got you at a pretty good price.
Oh yeah, you did.
Excellent.
You've taken care of me since, but yeah, you got a good deal in the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Mr. Elliott, tell folks about you. I know you get to do some neat things, so tell our listeners a little bit about you. Then we'll delve into the questions.
Sure. So I've been in law enforcement about 12 years, the majority of which was at the Statesville Police Department. When I was there, I did primarily like CID duties and stuff like that, which is
CID meaning what? Investigations?
Yeah, criminal investigation.
Okay.
And so, I did that over there. Came here to the sheriff's office in 2022 with the Special Victims Unit and brought everything that I was able to accomplish from the city with me. And so, a little bit about my background, other than just previous employment, is just with digital forensics. So that's kind of like a specialty for me.
Right.
And so I had the privilege and the opportunity to go to a lot of classes that deal with mobile devices, computer forensics. And so certifications definitely don't hold a candle to Captain Horton over here. They sent me to a lot of Cellbrite classes. And so Cellbrite's a software company that helps people like myself perform mobile extractions of digital evidence so we can view what's on the phone. So we make a copy of what's on the phone so we can look at it separately, which minimizes digital footprints. And so I went to operator classes, physical analyzer classes, smartphone classes, all through Cellbrite. And also CPCC, they have a whole host of classes that they give out to law enforcement like myself to, further educate yourself about those things.
So that's that at Central Piedmont.
It is, and those are great classes.
With WSIC having a reach and a footprint down that way,
That's right.
Let's give them a shout out and say
Absolutely.
that. So Central Piedmont puts on quite a few classes.
They do, and they're
geared
really
toward
good
this
classes.
law enforcement. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yep.
And law enforcement, previous law enforcement, they teach those classes. Even ones that have left law enforcement went to the private sector. They tell you about both sides on how things are done.
Right.
And the thing that's the cool thing about it is that no matter if you're law enforcement or private sector, you still do the same thing. You're processing phones and you're processing computers. And so it opens up the door to a lot of opportunity, and it helps out an office like the sheriff's office, like further investigate crimes. So you know exactly what's going on, because a lot of people keep sensitive information on phones. And it's like information they think no one else is going to see. But when we see it, we know exactly what happened.
but it's been deleted.
Yeah.
I deleted it.
Funny thing is,
That
we
means a
find
lot.
deleted information.
Well, now, you're talking about all these classes, and Randy, you've been in law enforcement long enough with us. Elliot's not quite as old as we are,
No.
but I remember the good old days, and sometimes they weren't so good, but I do remember back in history past when we would arrest someone and they had a cell phone on them. We just grab the phone, start looking through it, just like we were searching their pockets. We'd search their phone. If it would ring, if it ring, correct. Back in the day when that was legal. However, there was kind of a landmark case that came out of California that the Supreme Court in the Supreme Court of the United States said, "Stop! Thou shalt stop. You can't do that anymore."
We remember when it was like calling in an airstrike too, where you had to carry around the suitcase.
Well, it was a mobile phone with a suitcase and a bag and power cords, and but back before that case, we were able to extrapolate a lot of information out of these phones, and they weren't as, I guess you could say, correct me if I'm wrong, my terminology, they weren't as smart as the smartphones are now.
Right.
And I don't know that people were able to do with them what people do with their devices now. Because I remember you just type in 911 and that means call me. So things have come a long way. But so here again, wow, man, time's flying today. We got 4 minutes left in this segment. So guys, the way I'd like to take this conversation is, Randy, let's talk about how our road guys and our detectives get these devices.
Sure.
What we initially do up front as far as saving them, powering them up, Faraday bags, things of that nature. And then Elliot will get into your expertise with Gray Key and some of the other devices that we use. So, Randy, let's say that I'm working, and because Elliot's here, and we'll kind of keep in that realm, we're investigating someone that is suspected of child pornography or soliciting children online.
Sure.
We get the information, and I'll let you go into that a little bit earlier, so I'm kind of playing on the ground for you. But we get the information. We're able to get a search warrant based on the information, based on other things, and we'll talk about later. But we get the information. We go out and we do a search warrant.
Correct.
So we pull into the house. There's 2 or 3 laptops, 2 or 3 cell phones. What are we doing?
We're gonna seize them, but then we're also gonna make sure that they, particularly with something that's not air gapped or something that has connectivity abilities.
Okay, now let's keep it
Something that's
keep it simple for me.
Something that's not connected. Be
There
it
you go.
by
Okay.
a mobile phone
Yes.
plan, by Wi-Fi, by
Yes.
whatever. We're going to put it in a Faraday bag. Some people might have heard of a Faraday cage or something like that. We have special bags. They're essentially a super fine wire mesh that blocks signals.
Okay.
So we're going to put it in those bags and then transport them back to our property and evidence section.
So why are we doing that?
Because certain things can be remotely wiped. And
Okay.
a lot of these crimes, particularly more so the ones that Detective Lane tends to investigate and some of the rest of them, we didn't really mention earlier, but some of our digital forensics falls under me at the crime lab.
Correct.
Some of it falls under special victims. And, a lot of folks don't realize or don't have the ability to or know how to remote wipe a phone, but certain folks certainly do. So we've spent a lot of money to make sure all our patrol folks, our deputies, everyone has multiple of these bags. They get them back to a special storage area. We can put them in a black box, not the ones we were talking about earlier, not where the plane went down either.
Yeah.
And now we have the ability. At one point, we had to kind of choose between keeping it powered on or blocking a signal,
Mm-hmm.
because keeping it, if you don't keep it powered on, sometimes there's less that we can get from it.
Correct.
But if we keep it powered on, then a lot of times you can't put it in a bag and keep it powered on because it'll eventually just die.
Mm-hmm.
But now we have the ability with some of the new technology to keep it on power, and still block the signal simultaneously.
And I know some of the things that you're referring to, and I don't want to give out too many trade secrets.
Right.
But when asked about the technology, and you guys made the case for why we needed certain things, and we were talking with Sheriff Campbell, the only answer was yes. And how many do you need?
Correct.
Because
And they're not cheap.
because of the priority, one, that we put on these type of investigations, and two, the easiness, if you will, or the ease of how this evidence can be wiped or gotten rid of. And as we know, and I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but there are certain mobile device manufacturers who may not be very friendly with law enforcement. They may have fruit in their name, possibly, but they don't make it easy on law enforcement. And some of the things that we're going to talk to in our next segment, some of the devices that I know, Elliot, that you work with, and we can talk about, help kind of work around those. But I do know that there was at least one homicide investigation where we had to send Israel, Randy, where we had to send phones from Iredell County to Israel, ladies and gentlemen, because we could not get a certain phone company to help us open a phone that ended up having evidence on it that could have, that did help or make an arrest.
Well, if that same company won't help the feds on terrorism cases, their chances of, when Iredell County Sheriff's Office calls up, not good.
So because we haven't mentioned that company, Joe, hopefully the signal will remain. Ladies and gentlemen, we got about 15 seconds before break. So depends on if Big Brother's listening or not. We may or may not be back. But if you have any questions, please reach out to the radio station here. Thank you very much, and we'll see you after break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much again for tuning in to the Good, the Bad, the Guilty today. I really wish that we had some way to be able to broadcast the conversations in between commercials and watch Joe running around here like a crazy man. 2 cell phones, earphones on, back here waving at me, thumbs up, thumbs down. Joe, what's up, buddy?
Now, you can leave your stream on so that anybody viewing on Facebook and YouTube can get that inside look.
Really?
Yeah.
We don't.
We've
wanna
always
hear
been
us.
able
we
to
want
do
to
that.
See you run around like a madman.
Okay. Well, gee, I probably shouldn't have brushed my hair and done all my other things while we were there. But thanks again for having us, Joe. We do appreciate WSIC for having us on. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, going back to our topic for today, talking about electronics, electronic crimes, evidence, things of that nature. So, Randy, we've searched them, we've seized them, we've protected them, and then we call Mr. Lane.
And we may or may not have to get an additional search warrant before he starts his job.
Yes. So,
Right.
Elliot, when you were talking to us earlier and telling us a little bit about yourself, you left off 2 kind of pretty important pieces of information there, sir. Why don't you tell the folks who what kind of credibility that the sheriff's office has, the premium that we put on working these type of cases. Sheriff Campbell was very instrumental in kind of getting this up and running. But tell us about the 2 task forces that you work with.
So the 2 task forces that I work with, and I'm very fortunate to be a part of, are one's going to be with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and so I actually have my creds, so to speak, through FBI, and that's with Title 18 investigations.
Now tell everybody what Title 18 is.
So it's just
there
basically.
You go, Randy. So I'm a Fed, and I'm going to use big numbers.
No.
That's usually me that's doing this. So
Yeah.
I feel good.
Yeah.
So basically,
tell us what that means.
It just means you have federal authority to investigate criminal cases. That's the short and sweet of it.
Yep.
And the other task force, it's a non-sworn task force, but it's with the United States Secret Service. They are instrumental in equipping and educating people like me who are local task force officers. And also state task force officers. And so the Fed boys that go to those classes that are a part of them with me and others that are like me, they don't get the equipment, but we all do, only because they already come equipped with everything that the class is going to be giving to people like myself. And so they just get the training hours and certifications. So with the Secret Service, I have a couple hundred hours of training with them. And I would say we've already brought back $50,000 in equipment to benefit the sheriff's office with these kinds of investigations.
Correct.
Just because they're so complex and they're not going anywhere. And so people like myself and others that I work with who are, pretty, savvy with electronics, we go out in the field when these things happen and we start preserving evidence. We start investigating the crimes. And so what we do typically whenever we first start out in these investigations, it's going to be when people like Captain Horton call and say, hey, this is kind of what we got going on. I get contacted. I call my sergeant, shout out Patrick Dixon. And so
wake up, Patrick. He's talking about you.
I am talking about you. And so I call him. I let him know we're about to put in some work. We start getting hands-on with everything. But the biggest thing about the digital forensics is that you want to preserve the evidence. And you do that with Faraday bags, block box, you name it. That's what we do. And so it just basically eliminates any kind of frequency or signal getting out, just like what Captain Horton was saying, from people who are your bad guys, your bad actors, so to speak, that are savvy. A lot of people are not dumb when it comes to digital forensics. They know how to remote wipe phones. I'm not going to sit here and tell you how to do it, obviously, because that's one of those trade secrets, right?
Absolutely.
And we're not trying to equip the bad guy, not saying they're listening, just never can be too safe, right?
Right.
So we get the phones, we preserve the evidence, and then once we do that, we hook it up to software like Celebrite, Gray Key, things like that.
Okay, so now let me just push pause on you.
Sure.
So when you're saying that you're hooking up, so you're taking another computer,
Sure,
and you're attaching it to the phone, the camera, the other computer, the item that you've seized.
correct.
And then you're going to do what with that software?
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to image the device, and you make a copy of the phone when you connect it. So with Celebrite, you have Touch 2 and 4PC.
Now, is Cellbrite the software or the computer? Or
That's
both?
going to be the software.
Okay.
Correct. The computers you can use forensic workstations like Fred, Dell's, whatever, Tolinos, all those different name brands that are great. Law enforcement loves hearing that because we love to get that kind of equipment. And so we use the software like Celebrite, and then you hook it up, the hardware to the computer itself, and then you image the device. And so with computers, you're going to take the hard drive out, you're going to image the hard drive, and then hook it up to a software like Axiom. And then you go through and analyze the data that way, generate reports from it, and better understand what's going on with that computer.
So now when you say that you're analyzing data, just for our listeners, are you looking at images? Are you looking at text messages? Or are you looking at like computer
You're looking at
stuff?
everything. You're looking at everything.
Okay.
Everything that was on that computer that you could log in and see with your own eyes from the computer, you're seeing a copy of that.
Okay.
And it's best practice to do it the way we just talked about, because it minimizes a digital footprint.
So again, in best practices and some of this training that you've gone to, these are the practices that the courts recognize
Absolutely.
and make the evidence admissible in the court.
Absolutely.
So if you have to have basically a methodical approach that you're able to document for the court. And again, from what I understand, is you're not changing anything on the device. You're mirroring that device.
Correct.
So that if you do have to give the device back, or the defense has a chance to be able to do the same thing, yours will mirror what their evidence is going to be the same as yours.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't look like you've planted anything on that device.
That's correct.
Okay.
Because everything from that is going to be copied on that image that you do of the device or the hard drive, whichever it is.
Okay.
So mobile or computer, either way, you're going to have that copy, and it's going to show everything you've done. And so if you've been on that computer after it was seized and then you decided you wanted to image it, I hope you documented it, because it's going to show in the image what you did.
And if I could push pause there again, I don't know, listeners, if you've heard of a thing called the chain of evidence, but when we go out into the field, and Randy, you can comment on this,
Sure.
when our deputies go out into the field, or they see something from a traffic stop, or detectives or other groups go out and do a search warrant, when we put our hands on that piece of evidence, there starts the chain of evidence. Can you take a couple minutes, and then, because Ellie, we're too close to break, and I want to get back into some more stuff that you do.
Yeah.
So Randy, tell us about chain of evidence, or chain of custody rather, why that's important, and why it must be there for the court to be able to allow that evidence in.
Well, otherwise it just wouldn't be admissible in the court system. You're going to have to be able to show that from the time that it was discovered, who discovered it, when, where. Once it was passed off to the next person, they have to sign for it. You've got to put a date. You've got to put a time. It may go through numerous hands from the time we're out on scene with a search warrant, you said earlier. Detective finds it. He tells me about it. I take pictures of it. I seize it. I wrap it up. I put it in my vehicle. I take it back to the office. Now I hand it over to a property and evidence person. They've got to sign for it. They've got to. It's all electronic. There's an electronic trail of all this when we do all of it. And then now, depending on what it is, it may go through one of our other digital analysts, and then it may go to Detective Lane. But in the meanwhile, it's gone back to property and evidence, been signed back in, been signed back out. It's not uncommon that we have to actually take some of our property and evidence technicians that I also supervise to court, have them to come and bring the actual chain of evidence or printout showing every date, time, minute, everything that it would change from one hand to another to show that there was no tampering. No one else ever had access to it that shouldn't.
And in the years that you've been here, and in all the years that I've been here, I don't recall one time ever an incident of evidence that's come into our possession and gone through all of our processes and gone to court that's never been admitted to court because there's been a violation of the chain of custody.
No. And honestly, most of the time, I was just speaking to one of our ADAs about this the other day. I don't even think the defense really even argues this anymore. Once they know that
just
you're
because
doing
of the processes that we've put into
Correct.
place and the things that we have. So just let our listeners know, if we get evidence, you can trust that we've done good with your evidence here. So Elliot, when we get back, I know it's our last section. There's so much more that I want to uncover with you and talk about. So when we get back, I'd like to talk about something called ICAC.
Absolutely.
Not EPICAC.
Not EPICAC.
Not ICAC. ICAC.
That's right.
So ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in about 2 minutes, and we'll talk more with Randy Horton and Detective Elliot Lane. Thank you so much for listening today. Joe, I know I can't hear it real loud, but I do hear my Alfred Hitchcock music. You remembered, man. Thanks so much for that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for tuning in today to The Good, the Bad, the Guilty here on WSIC. For those of you that commented and sent things in, Miss Sissy, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you listening. We saw that comment on the Facebook page. And guys, just in a few minutes that we have left, we're kind of talking about working investigations, how we work digital evidence. But Elliot, one thing I would like to let our listeners know is part of what you do deals with ICAC, Internet Crimes Against Children.
Correct.
Okay. So tell us just a little bit about that.
Okay, so the quick synopsis of ICAC. So it's pretty complex to an extent, but ICAC, Internet Crimes Against Children, we get cyber tips. Cyber tips are numbers, the report numbers. And so ESPs, electronic service providers like your Facebooks, Instagrams, Snapchat, you name it, when they get something across their radar that's inappropriate, probably shouldn't have been sent, and people are uploading and swapping pictures and everything else, those get flagged and they get sent to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
All right, so let me push pause on that.
Sure.
So ICAC is run by
SBI,
North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation.
That's correct.
And they work in conjunction with
the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
Okay.
Yeah.
NCMEC. Lots
That's
of
short.
lots
It
of
is.
acronyms.
That's why that's what I'm saying.
Man. I know, right?
And so so NCMEC they get all the information from these places like Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat that give them all the goods, and so they compile it all into a report called a cyber tip, and then it's funneled to ICAC, which is the IDS state maintained website for cyber tips, and then personnel with the State Bureau of Investigation look at it, they triage it, they send out administrative subpoenas to flip IP addresses to see.
All right, well, now let's stop.
I know.
Yeah, let's keep it simple for me.
Okay.
So basically, and I'll use me as
Sure.
as the bad guy. I take a picture that is inappropriate of a small child.
Sure.
I upload it to the internet to send it to a friend, I'm selling it, doing whatever.
Correct.
So when I upload it, somebody out there is going, oh, there's a picture here.
Correct.
Doesn't look right.
Correct.
So NCMEC, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, working with those other agencies,
Yep.
get the information. They send it to the SBI in Raleigh.
Yep.
Okay. They look at it and go, yeah, that's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So then they send that to you
Correct.
here, local, if it's in Iredell County.
Correct.
And then now you said an IP address. What is an IP address?
Yeah, so that's the protocol address. So it's
So if I have Spectrum or Verizon or Zillow or whoever is providing my internet, does
Correct.
it gives my address on that service?
Yeah, so it's going to
Okay.
give the number. They put when you flip the IP address, it's going to put a name with it. So
Okay.
that way it tells us who exactly it comes back to, where they're
Okay.
located, and what jurisdiction, what agency do we need to send this to,
Okay.
essentially. So when people like myself receive them, we go out, we start investigating the case. But that's ICAC in a nutshell. That's like the whole process. It's just real big, a lot of acronyms and everything
Right.
else. But it's really complex, but it's actually incredibly efficient too.
So just as a warning, and I know that we don't have any bad people that listen to The Good, the Bad, the Guilty, Joe, on WSIC, but for those that may, or for those that are concerned, there are people, there are agencies looking at what goes to the internet.
Correct.
And we might not get you today.
Correct.
Because the information might not hit us today.
Correct.
But if you're out there, especially doing crimes against children, internet, child pornography, things of that nature, just know there are people looking. And there are folks like Randy, and there are folks like you, and folks like our other investigators, and dedicated agents and task force members across this great state
Mm-hmm.
who are not going to tolerate it.
No, not at
Sheriff Campbell has a zero tolerance stance for this, which is why you're on these task forces
all. Correct.
representing our agency. So now let's say you get the information
Yep.
and it pops up my address.
Okay.
How are you coming to my house?
So it's one of two things. There's so many cyber tips that come out. We have to use a little bit of discretion on how we do move forward with the investigation. If there is like one file and you have never had an issue before, and you have kids or something, or lots of people that come over, it may not be the person who the internet address comes back to. It's just someone using the internet. So
Mhm.
typically we just do internet safety talks. We have a discussion with the homeowner, say, hey, look, You're on our radar. I don't know who did it, but don't let it happen again. Because
Right.
if it does, we're going to come back at an unannounced time. You're going to have 3-letter agencies in your kitchen doing like mobile triage on all
Mhm.
your devices. And we're going
Right.
to find out who's behind all this because somebody is.
So now, as maybe a safety tip, let's say that I have Wi-Fi at my house
Correct.
and I'm not protecting it or I'm not limiting its width.
Correct.
And let's say that, and I got great neighbors, but so hypothetically, my neighbor taps into my Wi-Fi.
Right.
It's going to show that whatever that neighbor did coming from my Wi-Fi,
Correct.
if they're on it.
Correct. And that's another
So that's
thing.
why you have to protect your devices, you protect your passwords,
100%.
protect everything as a homeowner, as a mobile device owner.
100%. And that's why we do more investigations other than just taking it for face value on who the internet comes back to. Because a lot of times people are using their email addresses associated with the cyber tip as their name. And so if your name's, Bill Hamby, but you're the neighbor and we just went to somebody else's house who doesn't live there, they're going to say, yeah, I know Bill Hamby. He lives right next door.
Yeah.
And then it's going to take us to that location where we further investigate. So that's why it's really crucial to have your internet protected with passwords for your Wi-Fi, so people just don't jump on your Wi-Fi and start doing these things.
Sure. Now, just kind of in a nutshell, in the few minutes we have left. So when let's say that I am a for real bad guy, and I'm putting bad things on the internet.
Correct.
What type of devices are you bringing to my residence to search my computers and my phones and everything else?
Yeah, good question. So I'm going to be bringing Celebrate software. I'm going to bring hardware, my laptop that comes with it. I'm also going to be bringing Axiom. That's Magnet Forensics. That's another competitor to Cellbrite, but it's also something that works just as well as Cellbrite. We're going to take a phone. We're a lot of times if we already have the passcode, we're going to take it outside. I'm going to have everything set up on the property, and I'm going to have everything ready to go and probably done in 30 minutes.
So what is the benefit to the taxpayer? What is the benefit to the citizens of Iredell County to have you on these task forces, to have you and Randy and the other forensic folks that we have that deal with electronics? What's the benefit to us as far as time, energy, money?
Yeah, so it's going to be the resources and equipment. That's the biggest thing. When you establish those federal partnerships, when a person like me as a task force officer makes a phone call, you're going to get an immediate response.
And I imagine that instead of having to take a device, put it in a Faraday bag, either take it to the SBI lab or deliver it to somewhere and maybe wait a week, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year.
Right.
We're doing it real time, live time, right there.
Absolutely.
Benefiting, making sure that our charges are brought quicker, making sure that the evidence is what the district attorneys want or the federal prosecutor, depending on where it goes with your level of certification. So having the ability to have the equipment, having the ability to have someone with the federal authority, if it goes federal,
correct,
is paying huge dividends for the citizens and the children here in Iredell County.
Well, and similar to what we've talked about in the past, where we talk about, fingerprints, maybe the guy's not doing any more break-ins, depending on with what he's talking about, with are they disseminating? Are they producing? God forbid they're producing.
Manufacturing, making.
Yeah, manufacturing,
abusing
making,
children.
Yes, abusing, currently going on. Shutting them down then versus waiting a year for results means that, maybe some other child didn't get drug into it.
Right. And I don't want to take it to too dark a place, because when we start talking about kids and things of this nature, it can get a little heavy. So in the few minutes we have left, tell us about the canine. The canine dog that can actually detect electronic devices.
Yeah, so that's just it. They detect electronic devices. They're trained. They're specialized dogs.
So there's a dog for cadavers. There's a dog for everything, and now we have electronic device sniffing
correct.
Canines.
That's right.
And y'all have worked with them a time or two.
100%, absolutely.
And they're pretty neat to watch work.
They are. We do. We go out to these homes. We get all the cell phones, computers, everything that we can find that's electronic. And then once we feel like we've done a pretty good job at collecting everything, then we'll have someone who's trained and has a dog run through the house and make sure we didn't miss anything. And that's actually, in these cases, people have weird ways of hiding things that you would never think. And these dogs do a great job in finding those. So that's essentially what they do.
Think about the size of a micro SD card.
Yeah, exactly.
If you can hide a paperclip, you can hide a micro SD card.
What are you saying microclip for, Randy?
Paperclip.
Well, guys, thank you so much for taking your time. Joe, I appreciate y'all in WSIC letting us come over and talk about this today. And kind of going out on a lighter note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. If you have already signed up your child, grandchild, niece, nephew into our Sheriff's Athletic League for 2025, our co-ed volleyball season is here. I checked with Matt and Dara today, and we've already had over 200 young people in Iredell County sign up. If you're interested in having your child, grandchild, niece, nephew, neighbor's child, whatever, play volleyball, registration is free. It is run through the Iredell County Sheriff's Office. We do need coaches, so if you're interested or ever thought about coaching a young youth volleyball team, we will give you all the supplies. We'll give you the place to practice. We'll even probably give you some help in coaching if you need it. But the QR code is on our Facebook page, Iredell County Sheriff on Facebook. Scroll down 2 or 3 stories, and you'll see a QR code, or you can go to ICSO info at iredellcounty.gov, and you can register that way also. So, Joe, I've already asked you, have you changed your mind about wanting to coach a volleyball team over there? Ladies and gentlemen, he's shaking his head no, but I think we're going to have him yes before the day's over. But if you've ever thought about it for real, it's a great program. We provide shirts, we provide the volleyballs, the places to practice. But guys, thank you so much for taking your time today. Is a topic that a lot of folks need to know about. That we have the capabilities here at the Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Campbell puts a premium on this kind of thing. So thanks, Sheriff Campbell, also for giving us the equipment. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. We'll be with you next week on The Good, the Bad, the Guilty here on WSIC.